Hi there, I'm Michael Hill with Canine Chronicle TV, and I'm really excited to be doing a new project focusing on the next generation in the sport of purebred dogs. And today I'm going to be joining Adam and Maddie Peterson on the East Coast, and we're going to talk about how they together both individually got involved in the sport of dogs and their thoughts for the future. So Adam and Maddie, why don't you start and tell us how you guys each got into showing and breeding dogs?
I got into dogs when I was young. My parents got their first Rottweiler and showed it, and I just kind of went to dog shows with them and kind of fell in love with it and went from there.
You were born into it, kind of a thing.
Kind of, yeah.
No choice. What about you, Maddie? How did you get started?
So mine was kind of the same. My mom had Springer Spaniels when I was born, and they were a lot for a little girl to try to deal with. So she took me to a show and told me that I could pick out a dog that I wanted. And we didn't even make it into the show. There was like an extent of smooth fox terrier puppies, and I was like, I want one of those.
Yeah.
So we did. We got a smooth fox terrier, and I've had them ever since. You know, they kind of fit my personality, I think. They're a little fiery, and
right.
Yeah. So they've been here ever since, and you know, I've just shown dogs since then too. So
got it. So you started showing your own dogs, and then it became a career because you guys are now together, professional handlers, breeders. Let's talk about that career side of things. First of all, like, what was it like, kind of coming together and working together, and what are some of your fondest memories in your careers?
Well, so we met at a dog show. I know that's shocking. So dog show, and we actually dated long distance for probably like 5 or 6 years. Yeah. And
wow.
He was working for Scott Summer down in Texas, and I was working for Tracy Zaris and Angie Lloyd. And then we both kind of decided it was time to, you know, start on our own. So I went to Texas for like 4 months and decided that Texas was not for me. It is way too hot. Way too hot. There's way too much concrete. So I told him, I was like, I'm going back to Virginia. You can come with me or not. And he did. So yeah.
She threw down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we came to Virginia, and we started showing dogs together. And then we moved to North Carolina. We found a piece of property that we really liked and moved down here. And I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere, which is why we can let our dogs bark and be idiots. Right.
They can also just, like, you know, like, you don't have to worry about who's around traffic, that kind of a thing. Exactly. Was it a transition for you guys to learn to work together professionally in addition to the relationship side of things?
I think that even now, I mean, we've been together now for 13 years.
13.
And we still have moments where, you know, I'll look at Adam and be like, you know what, we just can't talk about this because this is not good for us.
We're shelving this.
Yeah, like, we'll disagree on dogs, and I'll look at him and be like, well, why do you feel that way? And he'll tell me, and I'll be like, well, this is why I think you're wrong. And you know, we have learned to have those conversations and not be hostile, which I think is good.
That's very important.
Also, like, figured out, like, if I'll do something to a dog knowing that she's going to come behind me and finish up whatever I didn't do on it, get it ready for the ring and all that. So.
Yeah. It's a team effort. Like today, you guys are still prepping and getting ready to hit the road tomorrow.
Yeah. So we've gotten pretty good at not getting our feelings hurt, I think, is the biggest one. You know, he trimmed a dog that I normally trim, and I was like, why did you do what you did? And, you know, we had our moment, but we have gotten really good at not getting our feelings hurt and realizing that it's just a dog show. You know, it's just a dog show. At the end of the day, we have to come home and live together, so it's not really worth getting so upset about.
And it's a passion, but it has its limitations on how much you can let it kind of define your life and your relationship, right?
Yeah.
Because most couples, I'd say it's rare for them to spend as much time working together as dog show couples do. What are some of your most memorable experiences in the dog show or whelping box?
Well, for me, probably one of my favorite memories at a dog show was winning a Smooth Fox Terrier National with my first homebred Smooth Fox Terrier. So that was huge. She won sweepstakes and then she won the breed, and it was the first smooth litter that I did. Like, I kind of planned it and whelped it and raised it on my own without my mom. So it was a big deal. It was kind of that moment of like me realizing that I really wanted to focus on breeding dogs.
Yeah, you kind of got bit by that bug of like, this is my own body of work now, and something that I have a personal investment. Yeah. I love that. What about you, Adam?
Probably most memorable, probably getting the Group 2 at Westminster with the Cavalier King Charles dog I was showing that was 9 years old. Just for a dog that age to do that well at a show is great. And then he was the highest placing Cavalier at Westminster. So, I mean, that was memorable. And then just recently, just having 2 wire dachshund litters that we were able to see them grow up every day because we weren't at dog show. I mean, before it was kind of easy to raise them and then send them off to their new homes. And now that we're there for the whole every day, it was kind of tough sending them to their new homes.
Kind of tough. He cried.
Let's hear more. Let's see Adam unfiltered.
Right?
Yeah, we
he's telling you he's getting rid of them, but he's putting them all in the back of the car.
we have 4 at the house still, so yeah, trust me.
He kind of got his way. I love that. And I think that's like a true testament to like real dog people. Like, that's, you know, the ultimate bottom line of like how you're able to do this grueling life, and, you know, the amount of work that goes into it is because you genuinely love the dogs, you know. And I think that's something that's really important for people to focus on, because I think it, especially for somebody who's not in the sport of dogs, the life that you guys have lived as a young couple could look overwhelming. So let's talk about that. Like, how, like, even just in reflecting and looking back, you know, would you do it again? Would you keep doing it? Where do you see yourselves going? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I think after the pandemic and the quarantine, it gave us obviously a lot of time at home, not being stressed out by dog shows. And I think that we've come to the realization that to be happy and healthy, that we maybe need to take it down a notch. You know, we lived on the road. We spent more time in the front of a vehicle than anything else. And that's, you know, it's grueling and it's bad for your body. I mean, we had
quality of life.
Yeah, we had so many issues. He's had back problems that he's always, you know, been dealing with. And being home for those 4 months, we had no aches or pains, or we had to get in a car and drive down to Orlando. That's 8 hours, which is nothing to us, right? And we got in the car to drive those 8 hours, and we were like 2 hours in, and we were like, this sucks. This is terrible. So, you know, we were like, how, we can't do this like 8 hour drive, which is nothing. And how are we supposed to drive all over the place when this starts again? So,
Well, I think that's that's an interesting point, is it makes people kind of pause and look at like, what is the sport as a whole, and then what does it like become, you know, having 5-day show clusters all weekend, every weekend, you know, and to be competitive and to do your job well, you need to be there to keep up with those rankings. But at the same time, like, at what degree is that worth your quality of life and your youth? Because if you're having back surgeries and knee surgeries and, you know, missing out on just enjoyment, like, you know, that's something that I think is a tough question for a lot of people to work on. And I think it's also like a great time, like now, and that's why I like having these conversations, to like get people's opinions on what practical things could be done, maybe to improve quality of life for those professionals involved in the sport of dogs, and also to make it more accessible and appealing to people who aren't in the sport of dogs. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
Be
I know.
honest.
I think that right now, in general, like you said, all these show clusters that have just sort of been crammed together, and we have 5 days and 5 days and 5 days. It is not only hard on people, and it's hard for people that aren't professionals and make their living to get there for the whole 5 days. It's hard on the dogs. You know, it's not fair for the dogs to go 5 days and then you basically go from one show to the next in 5 days. And, you know, I think that although these clubs are trying to just reschedule the best way they know how, I think that 5 days does a disservice. I think a lot of people, I know that if I had a normal job, I wouldn't want to come in on the weekend and expect to be competitive with a champion because all these dogs have been winning the first 3 days. You know, there's a lot of, I think, politics there where you see the dogs that have been doing good and you feel like you can't go and compete against them on the last 2 days of a 5-day circuit.
Absolutely. And it just like, it also is expensive, you know, especially for somebody who's not making their living off of it. Like by the time you do 5 shows, entries, hotels, food, and if you're going with one dog, you're spending 2 minutes of the day in the ring. And then what else are you supposed to do the whole time? So I think it definitely kind of oversaturates the market a little bit for the experience, you know, to have that many shows. And I think like when you see shows like Westminster, for example, which is your, you know, fondest memory of a dog show, it's because it's this one special show. So it has its kind of own unique identity, which I think would be interesting to kind of tie that into like the culture of where shows are happening in the history of where they're happening, rather than just 5 kennel clubs banding together and, you know, putting on cluster after cluster at the same fairgrounds every week.
Yeah. I think that when we first came off of quarantine, the shows were so spread out. You know, there was one show on the East Coast maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, and the entries were amazing. Like it was like a Westminster quality show. You'd go there and everybody was there, and it was so cool because that's how shows used to be, and we were like, this is awesome. And as shows have slowly started coming back up on the map, it's starting to kind of spread out again. And although you see the same dogs winning most of the time, like all the top dogs are always super competitive and they all kind of go their own way, but it was so cool to see everybody competing at one show, and it was kind of like, you know, the best of the best are there, and it was fun to watch. You know, we don't often get invited to that best in show lineup with all of those, you know, big dogs in there, but it was fun. Like you wanted to stay and watch best in show.
Yeah, it was fun watching the quality that was at the shows then. Now that there's multiple shows on the East Coast or Midwest, whatever, the quality has gone down. The numbers are the same, but the quality, because it's all scattered off to different shows.
That's not saying there aren't good dogs there. It's just, you know, all of the top dogs you get to see in the magazines and you want to see them in person. They were forced to go to the same show.
Right. It's like you said, it's like Westminster or, you know, the Royal Canin shows in December, where that's the only place to go, so everybody goes there, and you see these dogs from all over in the same breed lineup, you know. And even watching a breed competition is as exciting as a best in show, you know. And I think also too, like you said too, it's enjoyable to watch. So for somebody who's not even like competing, it makes the event more worthwhile to be there. I want to ask, like, do you think that the sport does a good job of engaging younger, newer people comparatively to when you guys got started in the sport, when you were just starting to handle?
So I think that the times have changed. I will say when I got started, I started showing dogs when I was 4, and that was with my family, and it was a family thing. And I do think now that kennel clubs aren't so welcoming to people bringing small children to shows. You know, we live in the age of Facebook, and you get to see all about that on Facebook. And you know, when parents get upset, you definitely, you know.
You're not
so I don't think that it's necessarily a family sport anymore. I think that a lot of older people don't have the patience to deal with kids running around, and they're so quick to be judgmental that I think it really kind of turns off the family aspect. And then young people coming in, it's really just a matter of if they have the perseverance to keep going when they're told that their dog isn't the best. And it's kind of a mindset where you have to say, like, this is one person's opinion and I'm going to go find another person's opinion. And it's so subjective, I think, that it's hard for some people to wrap their heads around.
Absolutely, especially when it's also a very interconnected world where there's people who are a small group that have known each other and their families have known each other and they're all interconnected for decades. And if you come into that, it can be overwhelming as an outside new person with just your personal pet dog that you want to be proud of and show.
Yeah. Well, and everybody thinks that their dog is the best dog, and that's perfectly justifiable. But, you know, at the end of the day, you're asking one person for their opinion, and you have to be willing to accept it. Which, I mean, it's hard for me, but I hate showing my own dogs. I'd much rather other people show my own dogs and just text me so that I can't get upset.
I need healthy separation.
Yes, I'm all about sending my dogs to my friends and just like, let me know how Fluffy does at the end of the day.
Know thyself. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up with who or what, if you can think of one, like a person, a dog, an experience that were impactful in making that challenge of getting into the dog world easier for you when you were younger.
Okay, so mine was Andrew Doyle, who I started working for on the summers when I was about 10. And for those that remember Andrew, he was very tough. You know, he was definitely a tough love kind of person. But when I was 10, I was super shy, and I did not want to do anything by myself. And he made me do things that I didn't want to do, like going into a grocery store by myself. He locked me out of the car once and told me I had to go get a pack of gum. And, you know, he pushed me to do things, and he really helped. He helped my confidence. And I think that working for handlers and good handlers that are good with kids and, you know, really can help mold them. It was a great experience for me growing up in the sport to just kind of gain some confidence and find something that I was really good at.
And he empowered you. Yeah. What about you, Adam?
I would say Carlos Puig, who I worked for 4.5 years before Scott Summer. He's more kind of laid back as a handler. I mean, he does get like uptight and moody and stuff when it's rush time and all that. But I mean, he was there, like living with them and learning how to take care of the dogs and everything. Like, he taught me about a lot of different breeds, and then dachshunds, which I love right now. Like, he just taught me everything I need to know about them, and then kind of said, "Okay, here you go. Go on your way."
Sent you off.
You know, he's very supportive. He's always, I still talk to him, and he's just like, "Yeah, you're doing a great job." And we talk about litters and evaluate litters.
Adam sent him every single puppy picture we took over quarantine of every single dachshund that was here.
Those dachshunds are his babies.
Yep, and Carlos, he was amazing. He'd sit on the phone with Adam, and he'd go through them and tell him what he liked and what he didn't like. And it was, I mean, he's still there to mentor Adam. And, you know, Adam's a grown man now, and it's a relationship that they have for life.
Yeah,
I love that.
I mean, we nitpicked everything, which was great. I mean, because I think there's some breeders out there that just think everything's they breed is great. And it's, as a breeder, you just need to know, like, what can you improve on? I mean, yeah, you could have a great dog, but that great dog, what can you improve on with that later on with that dog? So.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And, you know, and it's an interesting thing because in a lot of industries, you guys, you know, competitors, so to speak, wouldn't be collaborating in that way outside of your work, but that's where that kind of like relationship side of your paths together, I think, is really cool to see like that. And then, you know, how that will continue to the people who have worked with you guys or are working with you right now. I'm sure the same thing will happen down the road when they have their smooth fox terrier litter or their dachshund litter, and there's Adam.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I know you're busy getting ready for shows this week, but it's just great to hear your insight and your experience. And I think there's some, you know, great food for thought on, you know, things that can be done and implemented or even just considered for how to keep the sport alive and accessible to the next generation.
Yeah, we were happy to be able to do this, and thanks for spending some time with us. The park looks beautiful, by the way. There's like kids like, swinging.
San Francisco is heaven. Everyone should move here.
yeah. We just have barking dogs and chickens, so I mean,
that's close to heaven, right? Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, and good luck at the shows this week.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.